On today's podcast, we're going to focus on how you make the switch to a 3-4 defense. And joining me to talk about that topic and more is the head football coach at Illinois State, Brock Spack. Coach, it's great to have you here.
Keith, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Coach, you've been at Illinois State now since 2009. You guys have had a lot of success there. 84-50 overall is your record. You were the national runner-ups in the FCS in 2014 last year, made it to the quarterfinals and 10 wins. So just doing an excellent job there at Illinois State. You know, looking at that, Coach, I'm sure there's an overriding philosophy that you feel is part of what sets the foundation for the success for you. What exactly is that? What are the things you believe in that really bring your team success?
Well, work ethic and then accountability and, a sense of physicality. We're pretty, we try to be physical. In our league, in the Missouri Valley, you have to be. Just kind of the way the league is structured. In order to compete in this league, you're going to have to be a physical team. And that's kind of how we're built. We build our team from inside out. And, I was a defensive coordinator for a long time in the Big Ten at Purdue, and for a guy named Joe Tiller before that I was at Wyoming. So we've had to, win with less. And when I came here, we've rebuilt a stadium here, and we upgraded the facilities a little bit, and our play in the field has been important. And the switch to 3-4 for a guy as a 4-3 guy most of his career was quite a change, and we kind of, it was a kind of smoothly moved into it, and our coaching staff has done a great job with it. Our, Travis Niekamp, our coordinator, and our staff on defense has done a great job, and have moved our program forward, and we're a 4-3 based. a 3-4 based team now. So.
Coach, you had some great influence, as you mentioned, Coach, with Coach Tiller. Before that, you were a player at Purdue, a linebacker there. At what point during your playing career did you, get the bug to stay in this and become a coach?
Well, I always, I wanted to play as long as I could, and then when I couldn't play anymore, I wanted to coach. It's kind of football coaching has been something I've always wanted to do once I was done playing. Unusual at Purdue. Most people there in some type of technology field. I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach high school football, but it was easier for me to get into the college ranks. I got cut from the NFL and came back, and Coach Tiller was the coordinator on defense, and they'd saved Coach Burnett was head coach at the time, but they saved a GA spot for me, and I jumped into that, and so it was an easier transition for me. So I got into coaching and never looked back, and really have enjoyed a long career. I've been doing it now for 37 years, and it's been a lot of fun. But I've always wanted to coach, and when I was done playing, I just wanted to stay in football. I love football, and football's been huge in my life. It's given me opportunities that I never would have had had I not played. I don't know if I had gone to college without a football scholarship. I couldn't afford it, and football gave me that avenue to go get a degree and get my master's and end up being a college head coach someday. So, ironically, Illinois State. I had a great high school coach here in Illinois, a guy named Greg Stallcup, and then we had a defensive coordinator, Gary Giardini. Coach Giardini and Coach Stallcup were best friends, and they all both went to Illinois State, ironically. And it's kind of some strange way I'm kind of paying those guys back for all they did for me when I was a high school kid. That's when I got the bug, really. Those guys were best friends, and it was fun to watch them coach together and the fun they had, and you could feel it as a player, and the experience I had in high school at Rockford East was awesome, and it just wanted me to be a high school coach, and then I got into college coaching. It was just easier for me to do that, and I've taken the college route, and but I have a very strong empathy for coaches, but particularly high school football coaches, because I know how hard the job is, and those men were the backbone of my wanting to become a coach. Coach Stalkup I'd walk to school every day, and I couldn't get in right away. I had to stand in the doorway of the school. We'd talk for about 20 minutes before the halls were open, and he would really hit me up on academics and how important that's going to be. And even when I was a freshman, he said, "You're going to have a chance to be a good player." And so he really kind of paved the way for me. And then having Coach Giardini as a coordinator at Rockford East, and he was our athletic director as well, and was a huge influence on me. And then it's kind of ironic that I went to their university and their school where they went and became a head coach. That was my head coaching stop in my career. So it's kind of gone full circle as I came from the Big Ten and I went back, became the head coach here at Illinois State. So for some weird way, some strange way, it's kind of my way of thanking them. And Coach Stalkup died when I was in college. He had cancer, unfortunately, and he was 37 years old when he passed away. And so it's kind of been kind of irony, I guess, that I ended up here. And it's been a great run here, and I love coaching and plan on doing it for a long time. So,
Coach, when you look back at the guys you've worked with, the guys you've learned from, who would you say has been the greatest influence on you in helping you learn this profession? And I guess maybe that lesson that's really stuck with you from that coach.
Well, Coach Tiller is a guy I spent the most time with, as a coach. I GA'd for him. Then I coached for a guy named Bob Spoo at Eastern Illinois. And Coach Spoo was from the city of Chicago, from Chicago Catholic League. I think he's a Hall of Famer in the Chicago Catholic League. And Coach Spoo gave me a huge break by hiring me at Eastern Illinois. So he had a big influence on me as well. But I would say Coach Tiller had the longest. I was with him the longest. I GA'd for him for 2 years, and then played for him for 1, and GA'd for 2, and then was his coordinator for 14 years, and then I became a head coach here. So he was. But the lesson he taught me was the profession, and make sure you honor the profession of coaching, and don't follow the almighty buck. College has kind of gotten that way. COVID-19 has probably put a big market correction on that, with what's going on with college athletics right now, and the loss of revenue and all that. It's just kind of put a market correction on that. But I never really thought I'd ever make the living I've made in coaching, and what the coaches make now. And at Power 5 is nothing like that when I was there, but I made a good living. But he really was big on honoring the profession of coaching and being a professional coach, and not follow the almighty greenback. Because he said, "Boys, you guys come in our office, and men, you follow that almighty buck, it's going to disappoint you someday." And he's been pretty accurate on that. So I've never been really motivated by money, to speak. It's just more about the job and the opportunity and the challenge of building a team, and becoming the best linebacker coach I could be, and then becoming the best defensive coordinator I could be, and now becoming the best head coach I could be. I thought that that was good advice, and he was a big influence in my life, and probably the biggest, with Coach Pooh, probably second, and as a mentor. Those guys were very bright, and just loved to coach. They're in it for the right reasons, and to help young men become better people, but also better players, but more important, better people. And that's kind of what the route I followed, and just really enjoyed it. Have had to make this will be no surprise for me, but this has been the toughest year of my life as coaching, is COVID-19 and the disappointment of a postponed season, and then trying to keep players engaged, and all the stuff that's going on in our world has been very difficult, and a lot more than I thought I'd ever be in as far as being a coach. So I've had I'm sure I'm no different than a lot of high school and college coaches right now that have to deal with this pandemic. But it's been a great run, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope to keep coaching. But I would say Coach Tiller had a lot to do with that, and he's a tough guy, no nonsense, but fair, honest, and that's what I tried to be, and but he's probably had the biggest influence on me.
Coach, before you became the head coach at Illinois State, you spent 14 years as a coordinator. You were at Wyoming, and then 11 years at Purdue. For you, whether you're in a 4-3 or now in a 3-4, I'm sure there are things fundamentally and philosophically that have to be part of every defense that you guys coach, something that you really believe in. What are those things that you believe in about defense?
Well, there's a couple things. One is anything worth a crap in life is you have to have enthusiasm for it. So if you really love football, you're going to play with a lot of enthusiasm and play with a lot of energy. I think that's really, really important, particularly on defense. Sprinting to the football, and the tempo game has made that difficult. They and made it really hard for 11 guys to turn and sprint to the ball. But I think giving as many hats to the football as you can, and making sprinting the football a habit. That no matter what system you run, that's very, very important. Tackling has always been an issue. Being able to be very good tacklers. We've come full circle in that as well. Rugby style tackling has been a real I've been a real proponent of that. Really like that. That's not how I was taught, but it's how I have kind of morphed into that. Being a safer, protecting the player. And so tackling is something should be done every day. So put a lot of emphasis on tackling, and we do all sorts of different styles of tackling, and that's really important. But probably more important in all that is obviously tackling, number one, but two is doing the eights, what I call the eights, is being able to separate from a blocker, being able to accelerate to a ball carrier, and be able to terminate the ball carrier. So we call them the eights. You got to be able to do the eights. And every great player I've coached has had a lot of great guys I've coached over the years on defense and had first-round draft picks and all that stuff. And the ones that were really, really special are the ones that can do that, can separate, can accelerate, and can terminate. So doing the eights are really, really important, I think. So, and then obviously playing with great effort and sprinting the football. I mean, I don't know how any other way to play the game of football, sport of football. It's hard to make the sport easy, because it's not. As much as the powers that be that try to make it easy, it's not easy. It takes special guys, particularly play defense, and being able to do the things we talk about. But being able to get off the blocks and being able to accelerate and being able to tackle are really, really important. And I think that's what we really hang our hat in, and that's really never changed, no matter stop I've ever been. Ever since I became a coordinator at Wyoming, it's been 25 years probably now. We really emphasize that, and playing with, surrounding yourself with kids who love football and guys who love football in your staff room, and usually guys who really love football won't make bad decisions. We've had a few that I've had a few that have, but for the most part, most of those guys will make great decisions because they won't put their playing career in jeopardy. So just surrounding myself with people who love football, and that's a never-ending quest now. And it sounds funny that you'd say that in college, but I think it's important that you do that, because this is very difficult, and what we're doing right now is very difficult, and there's no doubt. None of us have a playbook for what we're going through right now, getting ready for a spring season. All these kids have been back here in mid-June, and we've been, it seems like, practicing forever, and we weren't practicing for 4 months. Now we're practicing forever, and now it looks like we're knocking on the door of a spring season. So we're getting excited about that, but keeping those guys engaged. But football is difficult, and it's a struggle that I've always enjoyed. That even when I was a player, it was very strange, but I really look forward to training camp, two-a-days, back when we had two-a-days. because it was such a challenge, and you felt like you wore it with a badge of honor once you got through it and were able to, thrive in it, not just survive but thrive in that environment. And I always took that as a challenge and really enjoyed those challenges. And coaching is a big challenge, and it's always difficult. There's guys out there that are going to try and knock you off your pedestal. If once you make it to the top, it's hard to stay there, and to keep the success going is always very difficult. And again, it's almost harder than getting there sometimes, in my opinion. So we're always tweaking that, and I call it the relentless pursuit of perfection. The human being is not perfect, but being able to pursue perfection, and it's kind of been my mantra. It keeps me engaged in my job every day. And my job isn't really a job. My wife told me one time when we were younger, she envied me in the fact that you go to work every day and you seem to really love your work more than than anything. I said, well, football coaching can't be a job. If it's a job, then you make it a job. Then it has to be your passion because of what you have to go through to do it. And all the men and women that coach athletics, but particularly football, it's such a struggle. And with all the things that football has been going through the last 10, 12 years, that all coaches know. And I'm not, the head injury issues, and it just seems like we're under attack. Our professional football coaching is under attack. The game's under attack. It's the greatest game in the world, and it's no doubt about it. And it's documented. It's the most popular sport in our country, and it seems like it's part of our who we are in the United States. Is football. Whether you play college, high school, pro, doesn't matter. It's such an important part of our lifestyle that, and it's if you don't treat it that way when you're coaching, that you're treating it as a job and you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I think that's I go back to what Coach Tiller instilled in all of us when we were young coaches. For him, I think that's I've lived with that my whole life. I believe that. And some people don't think you don't live like that. No, I absolutely do. Football is really, really important, and it's been my passion my whole life, and it's my life's work. And I want to surround myself with people it's that important, and they'll never make a bad decision because of that. And in football, you want to use football. You don't want football to use you. I tell that to our players, but coaches are the same way. But you want to learn from football and there's a lot to learn from it still today. And I'm not done learning. When that gets to be old hat, not as much fun and excitement, then I'll probably step away. But right now, I think I have a lot to learn. And I love going to clinics and love listening to all the sharp coaches, from older coaches to younger coaches to the high school coaches to college coaches to pro coaches. I learn from everybody. I learned a lot from high school coaches watching, watching spring practices and watching high school coaches coach. I learned a lot from those guys, and I've learned as much as I've learned from, college guys and pro guys. So if you listen real closely, you'll learn something from everybody you come in contact with. So I don't know how I got on all that, but that's kind of been my career.
Well, Coach, what clearly came through is your love of the game, and everything you said I 100% agree with. And you touched on the learning part there, and whether it's clinics, I love the coaches' clinics. I think more than anything, I love going to practices. I can't tell you how much I've learned by just going out and watching, just a single practice with, a team that you look at how guys do things and pick up on things and drills, and so many opportunities that I think coaches, if you're going to stay in this profession, you have to take advantage of that learning. And that kind of leads us to our next topic, the Illinois High School Football Coaches Association Virtual Clinic, which is December 8th through the 12th. It's the first clinic of the off season. Over 130 speakers, I think I just saw from Dave Jacobs today. Just an incredible lineup. You're a part of that lineup as well, and your focus is going to be on making that transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense. And I wanted to touch on at least a couple of those things in your talk a little bit here. So first of all, I guess what was it that spurred you guys on to looking to making that change from an even front defense to an odd front?
It's well, I started looking around when I my first 2 years as a head coach. I didn't coordinate the defense, and I coordinated 11 and 12, and then I got back out of that. But I'm in that room quite a bit. But I really started, even Coach Tiller back. I think it was the late or early 2000s. He said, have you ever thought about a 3-4 system? Because one thing, Coach Tiller's background was as an offensive line coach. We hate head-up techniques. I said I really didn't know much about it, and my I've kind of my bread and butter has been the 4-3. I've done a lot of research with that. But what I started tweaking and dabbling in a little bit, particularly on third down, with the odd front, and what I found out is I kind of had it backwards, and playing 3 down should be your first and second down stuff, and then getting in 4 down on third down, So I had a few guys that I coach with that coach in 3-4 systems, either in a place like Texas A&M or in the NFL, and they were able to, kind of help me out with some of that stuff. I studied the Steelers quite a bit, and I said, at Illinois State we can find, 4 linebackers that can run and hit, and I think we have a really good strength program. We can get them big enough to play those positions and maybe safety types, like we did in the 4-3. But we can find 4 of those a lot easier when kind of 4 down guys. And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense. And then we kind of morphed into more to what, if you watch Wisconsin play, particularly a couple of years back, we kind of morphed into that a little bit with our outside linebackers going down as ends and then a 4 down. So it made a lot of sense to me. I'm a linebacker by trade, and what really helped us is in the no huddle and the up tempo stuff is we're able to play multiple. We can be multiple with our fronts. We can disguise our what we're doing based on the 3-4 cyclical. It's 5.5 and 5.5 instead of 6 and 5 when you're shaded. So when you're shaded in a 4-3 or under and over defense, you have a 6-man side and a 5-man side. So you're a little more balanced. We're able to disguise a lot better. Pressure and coverage and all those sort of things. We were able to disguise that because you're more balanced when you're in a 3-4, and just fit our recruiting model a little bit better, I thought, here than when I was in the Big Ten. But I had I had I don't know how many, 17 guys that played defensive end for me that played in the NFL some length of time, and we did a lot of things with those guys out of a 4-3. We get in a 3-4 every so often, or 3 down, and play around with them a little bit. But if I had those guys, a lot of those guys went on to play in 3-4 systems in the league, and so it just caught my attention when those guys end up being, I don't know if they're fast enough to play outside linebacker in the National Football League, but end up having really good careers, and studying them and studying the 3-4 system in the league, particularly the Steelers at the time when they were very aggressive, and I was really interested in how they got to a 4 down front as well, because you can be multiple and still play a 4 down even though you're a 3-4 team, and it was just fascinating to learn all that stuff. And it's really the blitz angles, the angles from pressure, the different guys we can activate. And it's fun to play. It's fun for our players. All our guys who stand up here we can activate any one of them, and in a secondary or linebacker as a rusher. So that's kind of interesting, and how that can be. And it's very simple, and but it's pretty complicated for the offense, but simple for our team. So just did a lot of studying, did a lot of research, and had a lot of people that helped me along the way, and called folks and listened to guys. And it was interesting to listen to our staff. They asked if, we did a lot of clinics with staffs during the pandemic when we were locked down. The pandemic's still going on, but when we were in lockdown, we did a lot of Zooms with other coaching staffs, and our defensive staff was kind enough to let me sit in on those, and I really enjoyed it, and listening to other staffs around the country run a 3-4 and how they get into it, how they got to it, and it's been very, very, very interesting to me. It's something I really needed probably in my career, just to refresh and to really captive be a captive audience to the philosophies of running 3-4. There's so much to learn still, and so many different ways of doing it that I'm still kind of interested in, and there's so much research still to be done. I think I have a lot to learn. So, but that's kind of how we got into it, and why. The why is recruiting. We felt that we could find 4 linebackers, and or easy to develop 4 linebackers and develop down guys, and it changed our philosophy a little bit to kind of player we look for up front. We obviously always look for length and always look for longer guys, but that's really imperative now when you play a 3-4 defensive end as opposed to a 4-3 defensive end. You obviously want length at both, but it's really important in a 3-4. But you can move them around and do all kinds of things, even though you might not have great length, and still be able to play a 3-4 defense. So it's just those are the things that I hung my hat on and really captivated me and got my attention, and it's been really good to us, and it's been really good the way we play. And if guys like to play in the National Football League, you have to, a lot of people do it, in the league, and they go back and forth, from 4-3 to 3-4 systems too. But probably has a lot to do with the kind of guys they got. But you can play both, and that's kind of what we do. But we play some 4 down here and 3 down, but 3 down's our base.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It does. It's interesting that you bring that up, though. That kind of flipping that thought process around. And I was on the offensive staff at Baldwin Wallace University, but I know our defensive staff had the approach. We were a 4-3, and we get into the 3-4 on the passing downs. But I guess what I just heard you say is it's the opposite. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. Yeah. Why do you feel it's the opposite? I guess what do you see from an advantage standpoint?
I'll tell you I'll tell you a story. Jim Chaney's a very good friend of mine. We coached together for a long time at Wyoming and Purdue, and he's now he's an awesome offensive coordinator in the SEC. He's been at Georgia and played for a national title there, and now he's at Tennessee again. He's been there twice. And Jim was interesting one time, and we were jumping in. I forget who we were playing. I can't remember. It was a non-conference game at Purdue. It might have been in Western Michigan. I can't remember who we were playing. It might have been Notre Dame. I can't remember. But he said, "Brock, did you see when you jumped in your 3-4 how the pace of the game changed?" And I said, "Yeah, I noticed that. They didn't go at warp speed, and the linemen were a little slower off the ball. They weren't flat backing because they don't know where you're going, and they didn't understand, because there's a lot of doubt, and I thought that was a teaching moment then. I should have been all into it at that point. But we fall back on what we really know, as coaches, right. and I took that leap, a few years back here, and I wish I would have done it earlier, but I did do it finally, and that's what I was told. I was told, you're thinking backwards, you three down on run downs and 4 down on pass downs, and that's kind of what. But both work, they really do. The 4 down has been really good to me on first and second down, and we've had great defenses, particularly at Purdue and at Wyoming with 4 down, and it all work. And it's just your philosophy, but it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just kind of my thinking was kind of, I need to open my mind, I guess, to the other way, and I've had a lot of success with 3 down on passing downs, but I just think you need to open your mind up and think about, what would be best for us, and you have to look at your program. And I think our program for us at the time, us going to a 3-4 was a good call, and we've been very salty here since Coach Niekamp. We've been pretty good since probably 2011 on, and but we did both 4-3 and 3-4, but then we went wholesale 3-4, and I think it's a little easier for the players to grasp, and going from 3 down to 4 down. That's just been my experience, but somebody else might have a different philosophy. But I thought just like your guys at Baldwin Wallace, exactly how I thought, and it's kind of, you need to open your mind a little bit.
Yeah. as we start to see this shift, and I know you said you play in a pretty black and blue conference, and I know you guys played North Dakota State in the quarters last year, and I believe you said it was a 9-3 game. 9-3 game. You it kind of seems like you should be asking who's the winning pitcher in that one. So
no touchdowns. no touchdowns scored in the game. Period. So,
but
quite a battle.
Yeah, I mean, you guys see it a little bit. I know a lot of the guys who have gone to a 3-4 have those hybrid type of guys, almost like guys you might think of as a strong safety. But it was interesting. I was listening to a clinic talk with Sonny Dykes, an air raid guy.
Right.
And midway through, he starts talking about how it's advantageous for you to have, fullbacks and tight ends in your system. And, this is an air raid guy talking about how, you get those guys back in your system right now, you could be at an advantage because most defenses are built to stop the spread. So as you look at, utilizing the 3-4, the odd front, which a lot of teams have gone to defend the spread, I guess thoughts on how you face those North Dakota States and those teams who are going to try to compress it down and create the extra gaps. Any issues you see there, or you feel pretty good about all the adjustments?
Actually, we really like it versus the running game. I like it more in the running game. I do the passing game, to be honest with you. And I never thought it'd be that way. I'm kind of like you, and I probably thought the same way your staff did at Ball and Walls, right?
Yeah,
that's what you said.
Right.
I think I thought that way. Playing with 4 down was better for the fits, but I think if you as long as when you're able to move, and you have movement in your package, and the fire zones and all that stuff that people do and run through linebackers, that stuff helps you and it slows the offense down a little bit. But we really, we have no issue because that's the way we play here on our offense.
Right.
We play at fullbacks, we play at tight ends. We're very multiple offensively. We can get, we use multiple formations. We get into 4 wides and 3 wides and 2 wides and 3 tight ends and a fullback and a tight end or two tight ends and a fullback and a tailback. So we have all those quote unquote power formations that so we see it every day in practice. So we're able to defend it, and we're able to run our defense against that stuff and then vice versa. So and we were able to get in 4 down for our offense as well. So we try to do that to complement each other and to help each other, get ready, for the season. So I don't think it's been a very much an issue. It's really very, everybody asks me that, and we really like it versus those power personnel groupings, if you will, for a better word, I guess, tight ends and fullbacks, and because we run similar stuff to that. So, you feel like you're a dinosaur, and you go out and ask the high school coach, say you got a kid that can play fullback, and we don't play with a fullback. What about that linebacker right there, or that defensive end, or that you got a really athletic tight end who may be a tweener, that guy. Those guys are tough guys.
Yep.
They're like your linebackers on defense. Those fullbacks. So we play with those guys. So it hasn't been a big issue for us at all. But we have teams that try to extort that or expose your weaknesses and all that stuff. But I think we hold up pretty well.
Well, Coach, I know I'm excited to see you at the virtual clinic and hear you talk more about this. For our coaches out there, again, you can register for that at ihsfca.coachesclinic.com. Coach, to tie things up, I always like to ask a question, and I took it from Bill Walsh's book, The Winning Edge. And so when you look at all the things that you do as a coach, on or off the field, it doesn't matter what it is, what's the one thing you'd say that this is really what gives my team the winning edge?
Our work ethic. I think a lot of coaches will say that, but our work ethic is good, I think, and it's something we won't bend on, and it's hard to do sometimes in the era we're coaching in, because kids ask why, right? They want to know why, and You got to try to tell them why and explain to them why. Kids nowadays they have a tendency to not respect authority as much as question it. So they're always questioning the why, and so I think you better have explanations of why you're doing things. And ours is our work ethic, and that kind of goes into mental and physical toughness. I would say those are the two things we hang our hat on here. But it all starts with work ethic, which should lead to mental and physical toughness, which helps us overcome a lot. And we're able to win more than we lose, and hopefully that continues. And because our guys buy into that, and not everybody does, and sometimes it takes time to get those guys, to train those guys to get to that point. But it's fun to watch when you have a Christian Uphoff, and he's our strong safety. It's just got invited to the Senior Bowl, and he's the first player in Illinois State history to do that. And you hand him that invitation, or Drew Himmelman, who's a 6'10", a 325, 330-pound left tackle, who has just been named a finalist for the Campbell Award, which is the academic Heisman, and he's a 4-year starter here, and he gray-shirted and red-shirted, and he was a basketball player and turned into a heck of a football player, and he's got great length, and he's worked extremely, extremely hard. He's got 2 or 3 degrees from Illinois State. When you talk about that today in front of the team, hey, this is one of 12 players in the entire country who's a finalist, and he's going up against the Enfinger quarterback at Texas. That's one of his competition to become this Campbell Award winner. It's the Heisman Trophy of academics and athletics, and football. So it's been, you think, well, we've done the right thing, and that's that we hang our hat on work ethic, which leads to mental and physical toughness, which is well part of our game. I go back to what I talked about earlier. There's no way we can make this sport easier. It's really difficult to do. We can be smarter in what we do. We can be smarter in how we prepare our players, obviously, and we're always learning a better way and a safer way of doing that. We always, as coaches, need to be cognizant of that, and always that's the main issue, is keeping our players safe as can be. But football is a tough game, and it teaches a lot of tough lessons, but also great lessons. And I think if you hang your hat up on work ethic and mental and physical toughness, I think it's going to take you a long way.
Well, Coach, it was great to talk ball with you here today, and you're welcome back anytime. I'm definitely going to be watching Illinois State here. Hopefully you guys get going here in the spring. I think everybody needs that to happen, especially in Illinois there. But again, appreciate your time, and we'll be watching you at the virtual clinic as well.
Hey, Keith, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate all what you do for football.
Thank you again for listening to the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. Please, if you are enjoying the podcast, head over to iTunes or Spotify and click 5-star for a rate. If you have a minute, write a review. It really helps the podcast. Check out our new home for the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. That's at coachandcoordinator.com. And follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.